Welcome to Build Your Foundation, our weekly dive into a topic regarding divorce, mediation, finance, or mental health. So for today, we are launching our divorce coach series on Build Your Foundation, and we have a very special guest. Please welcome divorce coach Lara Brunstrom of Sterling Fire Coaching. Lara, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So to start off, please tell us a little bit about yourself and your practice and how you help clients who are thinking about, in the process of, or just having gone through a divorce.
Wow, that's like three questions. I'll probably forget two of them. So
I can repeat.
I started coaching after a horrifying divorce. I found that I had dug a giant hole and didn't quite know how to climb out of it. So I asked a friend. I said, "I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. Help. Who can I go to?" A therapist didn't feel like the right fit. It felt very current to me, very right now. And how do I go from right now stuck in this mud pit of doom was what it felt like
Uh-huh.
to my future. And he recommended a coach to me. And so I got coaching from her and it was transformational. I never had been exposed to coaching, didn't know what it was.
Mhm.
From that, probably a year later, did a program, like an intensive coaching program, just to dip my toe in and see, okay, what is this all about? Do I love it? Subsequently became a life coach and
Mhm.
then later got certified as a divorce coach.
Got it.
So it's been an amazing journey. I love it.
Mhm.
I love working with people, helping people, specifically in the divorce realm. I get involved in any phase of divorce. So if they're looking at getting divorced, we go through the process of what are your options? Do you really want to do this? Maybe we back up and see, do you want to save your relationship?
Mhm.
If no, then what process in divorce do you want to look at optimizing for yourself? How do you want the dissolution to go? Do you want mediation? Do you want lawyers? What's the best fit for you and your spouse? Going through divorce, we tackle so many things that come up: communication, decision making, and if it's post divorce, there's always pieces to pick up.
Yeah.
So it depends on where the client is, and I just kind of meet them where they're at, and we
Mhm.
march forward from there.
So share with us maybe a most difficult client scenario and how your role as a divorce coach helped this person.
Ooh, I would say most, and this is a general, this isn't really one specific person. It's a series of people, I would say, that I have seen. And it happened to me. So I think
Hmm.
it's hard to watch because it happened to me, but people who go through estranging their kids, parents who, for some reason or another, are trying to alienate their kids from the other parent. And I think the hardest coaching part for me is, or the most challenging, is when it's the parent who's having the kids pulled away from them.
Hmm.
Because likely, I mean, unless there's alcohol and addiction or abuse involved, if there's really no reason for the parents not to have access to their kids,
Yeah.
it's so hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to see a silver lining around fighting for the right to see your own children. What I really want to do is get a hold of the other person and get them a coach. so so they can be worked on, but I can't control that part, right? I can't coach that person. So I would say the hardest scenario to face for people and as a coach is that, because it's the parent who's having kids yanked away from them.
That sounds super difficult.
Yeah, it's emotional, it's hard, it's
Yeah.
children. And I mean, the reality is many of us in this profession, in this world of being involved in divorce, no matter if it's a mediator or a financial advisor or an attorney or a coach,
Mhm.
most of us, if you say what's the biggest thing you want to protect, it's the kids through the
Of course.
process.
Yeah. Even in my own practice, it's something that I bring to the front every single time when, working as a financial neutral. It's reminding the couple look, the decisions we're making today are decisions that are going to affect your children. And I want to make sure that you guys can meet at the wedding of your kids or the birth of your grandkids and be okay in the same room. That
Yeah,
the decisions you make today will positively affect down the line.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that comes in, that plays in a lot in what I work with clients, just the decision making. I tell them all the time, okay, if it feels great right now, 10 seconds from now, what is it 10 days from now? What does it feel
Mm.
like 10 years from now? So if you're fighting for your kids or you're making a financial decision and you're just like, forget it, leave the money, I don't care about the money, or I don't need the health insurance. Well, 10 days from now, that's going to feel pretty awful when you don't have health insurance. 10 years from now, if you said, fine, keep the kids and I'll just see them on weekends, 10 years from now, that's going to feel really awful. So it's a lot of what I do is pacing people, pulling them back from, widening the lens of decision making, making sure that they're seeing the whole picture as opposed to as stress mounts and it
Yeah,
makes your lens focus like very narrow. Um, Having them take a moment, breathing into that, just
yeah,
pausing and realizing, as you said, if you're in mediation and you're making decisions, what does it look like later? Not just
yeah,
right now.
yeah.
What does it look like later?
Such good advice. I mean, to be able to pause with your clients, right? To take that exercise and then help them imagine, okay, what does it look like?
Yeah. And it
Huge.
grounds them. I mean, we can get into all kinds of stuff, with a kid issue or a money issue or taking money or giving money or holding kids back just to not see a spouse or their other parent.
Yeah.
That we can dig into values. You loved this person at one point. You had children with this person at one point. You planned to spend this retirement money together.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's changed? Now it's not us, but what did you commit to when you built all of this?
Yeah.
And what values were there and what do you still want to honor and how do you want to show up to that other person? Those are huge components
Ooh.
in remaining amicable so
Yeah.
you can go to the weddings, the birth of the grandchildren, the graduations where you can
Yeah.
sit and be a family unit and not have your kid wondering where three different sets of people are.
And the added stress on the kids
Yeah.
in that exact moment, right?
And kids feel it. Kids feel so much. they
Yeah.
they witness so much. I mean, another part of what I work with on clients is just their communication skills. You don't get to divorce by being a good communicator. Chances are you were making some pretty big mistakes along the way. And in divorce, you come armed to divorce as a couple with so much knowledge of what button to push,
Of
just where you need to
course.
push to get exactly what response.
Hmm.
And retraining, for me, it's retraining clients, step back. This is a new dynamic.
Yeah.
It's a new reality and you need some new skills. If
Yeah.
you're going to keep this positive and you are going to sit next to them at graduation and you are going to go see that grandbaby together and all of these life events that are going to happen, regardless if you like each other or not, how do you switch your communication to be more effective, more amicable? And it's a task. I mean,
Yeah.
it takes effort. I've had a few people recently, they've gotten that really horrible email and they
Mm.
send it to me. They're like, just I can't even deal with it. Just read it and I'll create like a three-liner response back to the spouse that's just spitting fire, and it diffuses it, right? It'll diffuse the conflict. And they're so grateful and it really makes things easier to have kid drop off. And then I'll have them send me, like, they're so proud because they're learning, right? And they're like,
Yeah.
hey, look, I did this text and look at what I did. And so they learn. It takes a few times to kind of, but
Get into
when
the
you're
practice.
yeah, it takes some
Yeah.
practice, but practice makes perfect, right? So they're getting there and they learn that, they don't have to share where they are before 1 o'clock drop off for the kids. You
Mm.
don't need to tell them. That's not your relationship anymore. The reality is yes, I will be there at 1 for the pickup. Not, well, I'll be there at 1 because I need to go here, 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 here. I'm like, no, they
None of
don't
their
need to
business at this point,
none of their
right?
business anymore. Like
Yeah.
that's just not the information they need.
Mm.
So getting some new communication skills, decision
Yeah.
making, those are huge for either mediation or trial, like either approach. They're all super necessary.
In the midst of, post, all of
Yep.
it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And any skills that I can impart on them that they can start practicing during this process, they're going to
Mhm.
take to their next relationship.
Yes. Yes.
So hopefully they come out of all of this learning something. They have better vision for what their future is. We work
Mm.
on that along the way. So they're not just coming out of divorce, they're signing their papers, and all of a sudden they're like, I hadn't even thought about what happens now.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
another really big part of coaching, is working with them on what's next. If not this right here that you're
Yeah.
dissolving, then what?
Yeah.
What is the next thing? What is the next big thing for you?
So let's talk a little bit more about like what does next look like for a lot of your clients?
It's a really fun component to it. I think it's a go-to in coaching when they do get stuck. Why are you doing this? You know,
Mm.
the question. I mean, I have right now who gets a little bit stuck on just frustration,
Yeah.
because really the patterns that they're looking to break are the reasons why they're going toward divorce, right? They don't want
Yeah.
that anymore. So when they get stuck and they get frustrated through this process, I'm like, so what is the vision for you? Why are you here? What brought you here? Well, what brought me here was this, and this of what I hated in my relationship that boxed me in. I'm like, okay, so let's open the box.
Mm.
What's there? You know, just
Yeah.
visuals and looking at what's in the future.
Yeah.
Some people, everybody's different. And as I said earlier, it's a big part of my job is meeting people where they're at. So some people have had a career. They were the major wage earner in their life, and they're not looking for a new career.
Yeah.
Those people are trying to figure out where to pick up for soccer practice. They're trying to figure out where to grocery shop. Like
Yeah.
they haven't done any of that in a while. Some people haven't had a job for a while. So they're now looking at what are they going to do next? What is next for them? How do they earn money? What are they going to do socially? Are they living where they're living? Are they moving? I mean, there's
Mm.
so
So many
many
things.
new things to
Yeah.
decide.
One of the things that I do discuss with any of my clients is I let them know, even in the most amicable mediation, there's still difficult moments, that it's a marathon. You that depending on what their communication styles have been, what the triggers have been, that
Mhm.
some things might be triggered. And so we need to have something to look forward to, because
Absolutely.
in those little steps, there are moments where they're just like, done. I can't take one more step. I can't have one more conversation. I am done. But at
Yes,
least they have a hope of what their future might look like.
absolutely. I
They
mean,
can stumble along. They can crawl to that next step.
yep. And
Yeah.
that's a big, I feel for clients, it's a big saving grace for them.
Yeah.
Like when you're in the mud of this and it gets muddy, even amicable, it gets
Exactly.
muddy. It hurts. They're daggers. Like, I want the house. And all of a sudden somebody's offended. And it's
Yeah.
probably somebody who didn't want the house anyway. Like,
Yeah.
but it hurts. Like, it hurts to give stuff up.
Yeah.
And splitting everything, if, no matter what amount your household is worth, it is now your household will now be worth at
Yeah.
best half.
Yeah. Eh, Nobody entered marriage thinking that they were going to have to break each piece apart step by step, right?
Right.
So helping clients, yeah, meeting them where they're at, knowing that what they've built up together, now they're having to destroy together, is
Mhm.
so difficult. And y- you and I have spoken multiple times, and I tell all my clients it is necessary to have a divorce coach, because there are moments, no matter how amicable the situation is, they all hurt. There are things that, as a neutral, as much as I want to be that person, I can't.
Yeah. And I tell people all the time, wine with the girls or a bro fest watching sports
Mhm.
with the boys is not your answer to
No,
getting your questions solved.
no.
Their friends want to pick your side. They want, oh, he's such a jerk, or oh, she's being so picky, or why does she want the house? And
Yeah.
none of that, Matt, that's noise. It's all noise. Remove the noise.
Mhm.
I act as just, I mean, similar to you, I'm very neutral. It's
Mhm.
not about my opinion. It's not about me. However, I can mine and ask for the questions, like ask
Mhm.
question after question after question to get down to the golden nugget of why does this matter? What
Yeah.
does it mean to you?
Mm.
What do you want to fight for?
Yeah.
What's not worth fighting for
Yeah.
and why?
I am writing some nuggets down. It's just noise. Remove the noise. Why does this matter? S- Key points, right?
Yeah.
Even in terms of the mediation negotiation, like, is it noise? Like,
Mhm.
why, what's the trigger? Why are you affected by this? Why are you so anchored on this particular item? Right?
Right. And
Make
and the
connection.
the the magic of coaching is I could, but it would be very ineffective to say, why are you stuck on this? Because they're gonna be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's drilling down in a really magical and simple way to everybody knows why inside of them. A
Yeah.
lot of us forget to pause, take a breath, and figure it out. And it's hard to do on our own because all these stories go over and over in our head.
Yes.
And then we start telling ourselves lies, and then we start getting all nervous. And whatever this narrative that's going on, it's like a giant pachinko game, and you gotta stop it. Like it's just like everywhere, right? Pausing it, breathing into it, having somebody like a coach who you can give it oxygen. You can say, I don't think I want the house. Okay, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
I think, whatever it is that's important. I think this is really important to me. Why? What is important to you about that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's important to me because my grandmother gave it to me. Or the last time I saw my dad before he died, he had his birthday in this, he was sitting in this chair and I want this chair. Okay, there we go. Meaningful want, as
Yeah.
opposed to somebody hucking a dagger at you and being like, I want the chair. And you're like, but I want, like,
Yeah.
it just takes some drilling down.
Yeah.
And there's emotion attached to all of it. That's not the conversation you have out with friends. It's
Yeah.
not the conversation you have with
No.
family because family is going to be emotional about it.
They're gonna side with you no matter what.
Exactly. They're going to believe in you, or they're the ones that say, "Oh, you can get divorced. We're keeping the other one because we like them better." I did hear that the other day, jokingly.
Yeah.
Jokingly.
Yeah. Well, so tell me about your most favorite client scenario and what the impact was for them and for you.
I th- I would say a little bit of what we've talked about. My most favorites would be the ones who dig in, do
Mhm.
the work. It's
Mhm.
not easy.
Mm-mm.
It's emotional, it's hard, it's yucky, it sucks. Like
Yes.
divorce isn't easy. Um
Even in the most amicable of situations,
exactly.
it still
And the
sucks.
ones who, when I say do the work, it's a lot of coaching happens in between sessions. Things we will mine for the nuggets and they will come up. And the reality is they need to carry that and do something with that.
Yeah.
And when you're creating a future for yourself,
Yeah.
you're creating that every minute of every day. When you're developing new relationships with your children, with your spouse,
Mhm.
that takes work. And the people who send me the text messages like, look at the communication I did, I'm
Yeah.
like, bravo, like that's amazing.
Yes.
And now let's tweak it just a little bit more. And he's like, oh, I see your point, didn't need to share that, but okay. And they're the learners, right? We're constantly learning. And I think the favorite scenarios are people who are really truly excited about building a future.
Mm.
The ones that when it gets deep and when it gets yucky,
Yeah.
I can draw that picture that they've drawn for me already and I can feed it straight back to them. Do you
Mm.
remember the day we talked about that image? What
Ah,
tell me about that image again. And it comes up, it's immediate. It's like
lights up,
right there.
right?
And they remind themselves of what they're looking
Mm.
forward to
I
and
love
how
that.
excited they are to get there. And that is amazing.
Yes.
It's just amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That is to see that change, that transformation, right?
Absolutely.
Journey with them
Absolutely.
from that mud.
Yep.
to just, yeah, that is awesome. That is so awesome.
And I love getting, my clients have access to me all the time. So if they
Yeah.
text something or if they need me for 10 minutes or something, they'll
Yeah.
just text and say, hey, between calls, can you answer this question for me? Or can
Yeah.
you just help me with something? The faster we can catch them from downward spiraling, the
Yeah.
better, right? So we can just prop them back up, get them on with their work day or
Mhm.
dealing with the children or whatever. The text message I get from people, like, are amazing. Like, they're so grateful for having support. And the ones that catch me or hire me or find out about me later in the process, within the first 45 minutes of the first session, almost every time, I would say 85% of the time, they say, I wish I
Mhm.
would have known you sooner.
Oh,
It's so important to have somebody just walk alongside you through the process. It's
I
hard.
yeah,
And to
100%
have a
agree.
neutral to bounce ideas off of,
Yep.
just say something out loud and it gets oxygen and it gets the chance to grow or to die, whatever it needs
Yeah.
to do. But
Yeah.
it's out and you can say it and express it and be safe saying it. You don't have to try it on your friends or have them think you're an idiot for saying something.
Yeah.
It's totally neutral and confidential and they can say whatever they need to say. And it's like people come up with the damnedest stuff, I will tell you.
But they need to get it out, right? They need
Absolutely.
somebody to bounce the thoughts off of.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
any final thoughts that you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Final thoughts would be there are options in divorce. I think that's when I get people early on in the process, that is the first thing we talk about is, are you
Mhm.
sure you want to get a divorce? Do we need to talk about that?
Yeah.
Next thing is, what's the best option for you?
Mhm.
People know that lawyer on lawyer is this traditional way. There's other ways to do it. And really working with them on communicating with their spouse. Again, going back to just some basic communication skills that they likely haven't ever known.
Yeah.
Effective communication skills to have that conversation to say, okay, we've decided this is done. How do we want to approach it?
Yeah.
How can we do this? And that foundation to be laid really early can affect the rest of the journey for them.
For sure. For sure.
And it's not always that tidy, right? Some people get served
Yeah.
and they get shocked and they didn't know it was coming. So there's, again, that's so, just meet people where they're at. If they're devastated and they're just in the first few days of I just got served and I had no idea, that's a whole nother ball of wax.
At least to have somebody to sit and cry with, right?
Exactly. Just
But
know
also,
your options and
yeah,
build a team. I mean,
right?
there's financial neutrals. There's people like you who can run reports for them that show them what their financial future is.
Mhm.
Information is power. Having a team, don't go solo. Build a
No. Yeah. Having support around you is critical during these times. It's, I mean, they're going through crisis. Our clients
yeah,
are going through crisis. They are in the middle of trauma. And so to have somebody who is neutral, to have somebody who's clear and able to help them make sound decisions, weighing out is it good for today? Is it good for 5 years from now? Is it good for when they're in retirement?
right.
It's critical. Yeah.
Critical. Pace.
Lara, thank you so much for joining us on Build Your Foundation. If our audience wants to find you, where can they look for you?
Website
Hmm.
is sterlingfirecoaching.com.
Hmm.
And my name just on Instagram and LinkedIn is just my full name, Lara Brunstrom. Those are probably the best places. I mean, if you find my website, you find my booking link and my everything. So you have access to everything there. So
Perfect. Okay. Well, audience, if you are considering separation or divorce or have any questions on what we talked about today, please reach out to us at Foundations Divorce Solutions and schedule a free consultation. And we could also get you connected to Lara. Um, our link and contact info are in the bio. We'll also put Laura's links as well. Even if you are not in the state of Washington or in the Seattle area, please contact us. We work with colleagues across the US who may be able to help you. And please share this post or tag someone if this speaks to you personally or if it may benefit someone else. And lastly, as always, if there is a topic you would like for us to discuss in a future episode, please DM us. Thanks. Take care.